over to Catalunya. It's unfortunate. We will have an article on LanterneRouge.com about the revised UCI calendar because E3 literally finished within 5 minutes of Catalunya's hardest climb. Very, very frustrating. Remco v Roglic, 178 Ks, finishing on to La Porte, 8.6 Ks, 8.8%. Hockey stick stage, Roglic was ahead of, what's his name? Remco on stage positions. Almeida and Soler and Lander and Woods and Hindley, everyone sort of sniffing around GC top 3, top 4. I thought the stage really suited Almeida. We said that before. Benji said that on yesterday. Nothing really happened, Benji. Like, apart from the weird thing, a break went, like, with Saglu Gourmet and some other riders. But Hayter was in the break.
Yeah.
And then got countered by Gourmet and then just went back to the peloton.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there. I generally don't know what happened there.
Pre-coverage. It was super weird. If you go and look at the PCS live stats for it, you just see there's like a sequence of events that make no sense. Anyway, the reality is it's coming back. We go to the climb. Like, this is a perfect World Hockey Stick stage. And it's really the battle of Quickstep versus Bora Hansgrohe. Ida Schelling. I'm trying to do it. Do it for me. But is it Schelling?
Schelling.
Got it. They're sort of two trains trying to keep their Hindley and Uterbrooks in good position, but I couldn't figure out who was the leader for Bora Hansgrohe. I'm not sure. I couldn't figure it out. And Quickstep, they're okay. I haven't seen the Watts numbers, which really tell a story. I think there's a little bit of a Headwind. But Jan Hirt basically was on the front early. There were other teams pacing, I think, like Bora Hansgrohe, but were you surprised to see how long Quickstep paced for, Benji? I think just to read your profile. Sorry, the profile has with 5Ks done with about 4.8Ks to go. There's a 10% kilometer, and they were still pacing there.
Yeah. So the way we planned it out yesterday, if we were a Quickstep, was that we said you should try and set up the train at the start and launch Remco Evenepoel to the point that he goes relatively early, whether it's 5K to go, whether it's probably the kilometer with 5K to go is the steep section that I would have said attack with Remco Evenepoel, because you don't want to leave it too late either. If you leave it too late, that means that you haven't paced too hard for the initial part to the point that you might have others still following you. And I was surprised that when I switched from E3 to this race, and it was like 4.5 kilometers to go, that we still had Remco Evenepoel sitting behind Jan Hirt and Van Wilder.
And Mader, it was Gino Mader Erasure, who's had a very, very odd Volta Catalunya, by the way. He just was good on Volta, completely dropped out of GC, and now is pacing today. Very, very odd, but he was pacing. Yeah, that of itself, allowing the pacing responsibility to another team. And yeah, he dropped Bardet, but was it a nuclear pace? I don't think so. And this is what we were thinking. If Remco is superior, and he showed that on Volta, I think he definitely showed that on La Molina, then, as Benji just referred to, if you try to pace for too long, that means the Domestique's power is going to be lower and flatter. If you say, guys, 3Ks, 12 minutes between the three of you, just absolutely send it, then they can do 6.5, 6.6 maybe. Probably not, but they can do well over 6, which is what you need. As opposed to like when you see Foss on La Couliole, he's doing a 12K pull, it's going to be at 5.6, 5.7. And yeah, you see Van Hirt's pacing, Van Wilder is giving him some encouragement or some words being like, come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And the group is still pretty big. And then even when Van Wilder takes over Benji, the group is still like Hindley's there, Uterbrooks there, Soler, Almeida, Lander, even Haig was still there, who's not in the best shape. Like, it's still a 10-man group. Yeah, Rubio's dropped, but Woods is looking good and he's there. I don't think Quickstep paced this hard enough.
I don't think so either. Or at least they didn't pace hard enough in the smaller time span that they should have. Yeah. Because if you wait until the last steep part, then it's going to be very difficult to, well, it's still possible that you drop people, but then you're talking about 2 kilometers before the finish line. So it's going to be more difficult to get rid of people if you attack 2 kilometers from the finish line than if you attack 5 kilometers from the finish line. And next to that, when Remco Evenepoel does do his attack, we see that Marc Soler is following. Just want to talk about that for a second. Marc Soler is able to follow at that point.
Unreal shape.
Yeah.
Like, unreal shape. Like, memes aside, like, Remco's attacked, Roglic is in the wheel quicker than a La Molina, and Marc Soler, everybody's just like, zoom, straight over into the wheel. I was like, and again, I don't know where he's on GC. He threw some seconds the other day on La Molina. Mate, this is a stage where it's like, you kind of do just let Almeida do his thing. I think on these sort of gradients, Almeida will just do his thing, and having Soler ahead sitting on is also a decent situation too. And there was a moment where Remco attacks Benji where I think he had Roglic on a gap. It's like on Volta maybe. And I did not see today the Tour of Norway, Pico Hano, Fanquire confidence from Remco that he would ride Roglic off the wheel. And I think he already, again, this is me just guessing, but I think he was already thinking about the sprint and losing GC on bonus seconds.
I think it might have been in his head as well. If we take a look at the way he reacts to Roglic in the wheel, he might not have seen that Roglic was in the wheel. Was not in the wheel for a second there when Soler was still riding with him.
Yeah.
So Roglic was on, I think it was like 2-3 meters, like a proper 1.5 bike length for a second there, with roughly, I think, 4 kilometers to go. So we're looking at that attack and we're thinking, okay, if he pushes now, he can put real pressure here. Roglic closes it, and then Remco looks behind him, sees that Roglic is on the wheel, and then he starts riding a bit slower.
Yeah.
And maybe if he had seen that gap, he might have kept pushing, but we're still so far from the finish line where I feel like keeping up the pushing might actually work on this gradient.
But that's what you did in La Molina. And it worked.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was, maybe he just felt bad, but it was really, I thought he was, the whole time, I thought Remco was going to win this stage. I thought Remco was going to take time on the road because he was stronger on Volta, he's stronger on La Molina. This is the hardest climb. But he didn't. He didn't really stick to his strategy of how he's been successful in the past. And I think Roglic got in his head a little bit. And they literally start finessing. As opposed to what happened to La Molina, the grey stop, Soler's with them. Almeida choo-choos his way back over. Woods is a bit behind. Really good to see Mike Woods in good shape. And also this climb really, really suits him. A little bit long, but good for him. And the funniest thing about this stage to me is the one time UAE should play numbers and let Soler go up the road and be selfish. The one time. Soler goes on the front and starts pacing as a domestique for Almeida. I could not believe it. You've got Remco, Roglic staring at each other. You guys are further behind on GC, particularly Soler. You both are feeling good enough that you could attack, particularly Soler at that moment. Almeida can choo-choo behind in the wheels, and then they start pacing. I couldn't believe it. I was like, guys, the one Soler, if Soler attacks, Remco doesn't want to chase, Roglic doesn't want to chase, Almeida sitting in the wheels is perfect. That was kind of funny to me. Anyway, like, good on him, I guess, Soler pacing, but yeah, and good on it helped Almeida's GC. Anyway, they start finessing. Roglic, unlike in La Molina, Soler drops himself and Almeida's on their wheel. Roglic, and I think Almeida was pacing a little bit, he attacks at 700 for Jumbo. And I was like, he must be feeling good. He must be. Because he hasn't done that all week. He's been in the wheel, in the wheel, in the wheel. In La Molina, he didn't counter when they brought, before the stage before Volta, he didn't counter when Remco brought back Chavez. I was like, he must be cooking here. And Remco got back to the wheel, Roglic stops again. And Roglic he's done this how many times this season? Who did he learn this from? Roglic's new move is the 400 to go, 100 meters, 75 meter sprint, but not full. It's a bait. Stops. I think he learnt it from Pog on Perigord because Pog played Jonas with it on Perigord. He like sprinted, stopped, looked dead. Jonas counted. Pog was like, ha, in the wheel, and then won the sprint. And then Roglic does exactly the same. Remco goes alongside him. He's like, oh, I've got you. You just opened your sprint. You sat down. Roglic gets across into the wheel. Remco is doing an Alaphilippe special impersonation. He goes left. He goes right. He goes left again. I have to say, he was zigzagging. Roglic was like, because Roglic is going to win at this point, and he's just like, I can't let myself get chopped. And he comes out of the wheel and beats Remco in much, much more convincing fashion than on Voltaire. By 6 seconds, Almeida third on 12, Soler fourth on 28, Uran 44. Where did that come from? Lenny Martinez, very nice performance and a good climb for him on 47 seconds, the young French rider. Landa and Wood 7th and 8th on 56th, and Hindley and Uterbrooks just 9th and 10th. Ciccone lost. Today was not a good day for Ciccone. He lost a lot of GC positions.
Yeah.
Roglic now 10 seconds ahead of Evenepoel. Almeida 2 steps up into 3rd on GC on 102. Landa stays in 4th. Soler from 10th to 5th. He would be, if he didn't attack on La Molina, he would be in 4th. Wood stays in 6th. Then Ciccone drops 4. Hindley drops 1. He's on 8th. Then Uterbrooks, Uran for, it's a pretty solid top 10. But yeah, I didn't expect this from Roglic today, Benji.
I didn't either. I would have expected the climb to be done differently, as in I would have expected a more aggressive tactic from Quickstep than the tempo they did and then the attacking from Remco Evenepoel. But even regardless of that, I would have expected Roglic to capitulate a bit earlier. But does the factor that Soler can follow the moves of Remco there say that Remco wasn't on the level of a few days ago?
Well, I'm waiting for the Watts, because I think they went pretty quick. Like I was a bit harsh about Quickstep, and I think really I am nitpicking, because I don't think Jan Hirt was pacing at 4 watts per kilo either. I'm talking a very marginal thing. And if Remco was as good as he was on Volta and La Molina, and if Roglic was as good as he was on Volta and La Molina, we wouldn't have even mentioned that. Remco would have gone away, and I don't know. I need to see the watts, but I think the early estimations are really, really fast. Like really? Roglic in best ever career shape.
That's crazy.
But
then again, 2017 was also career-breaking performance on the same climb.
So this climb, for reference, everybody, this climb is paced at 100 watts beforehand because they have a break of Spanish Pro Conti riders ahead. It's a 1-week race. It was a sprint stage yesterday where they were pretty much cruising if you're a GC guy. It's 15 to 17 degrees temperature. The climb starts at sea level and doesn't go above 1,000 meters. The climb is from 20 to 25 minutes. It is consistently steep between 8 and 10% the entire time. Every single condition is conducive to a high watts performance. Low altitude, perfect temperature, all of that. Low kilojoules before. Opposite to La Molina, by the way, which is not as steep, but it was hard stage before. It's can be a bit cool. It goes to high altitude often during the stage.
Yeah.
Over 1,500 meters makes a big difference as well. So that's why they went quick. So, it's technically maybe Roglic's best ever performance. Col de la Loze is probably, when you account for all factors, one of his best, but still, he's in good shape. And maybe now that I've seen the watts or whatever, what I'm saying about Remco is wrong. I definitely don't think stop-start is playing into Roglic's hands, regardless.
Yeah, because you're giving him the recovery before he has that accelerative sprint that he always performs. So that stop-start definitely doesn't help there. I will, however, say the way Roglic raced this climb might not be the way to win the Giro d'Italia, though. Because if you look at the Giro d'Italia, you're looking at a race where time trials are going to be vital. And on paper, if we look at the consistent average time trial of an Remco Evenepoel and the consistent average time trial of a Primož Roglic, Evenepoel's time trials should on paper be better. Unless Roglic has his Olympics ITT form every single time trial, then we're talking about a different story, of course. But that would mean that Roglic can't just sit on the wheel of Remco Evenepoel on the climb of yesterday, for example, on the climb of Valter, and on the climb of today, for example, for the majority of it, needs to properly attack Remco if that situation arises. So
it all depends how much he loses.
Yeah.
If he does his Tirreno TT, bonus seconds and a 500-meter surge are not going to get the job done. If he can do his career best TTs, this is the whole thing about Pogacar in the Tour de France last year. If Pogacar rode conservatively on Grenoble, as I said, when I was a flat earther, I thought he would lose a minute to 90 seconds. And I think he would have lost a minute to 90 seconds if he rode that stage differently. And if he's only a minute back, it's a whole different TDF. You've got bonus seconds, you've got this and that. You don't need to attack Spandels 2 hours before the end of the finish. Same with Roglic. If the TT brings him close enough, that puts a huge amount of pressure on Evenepoel, where he has to drop Roglic, because if he brings Roglic semi-fresh, I'm still taking Roglic uphill. I don't care about La Molina. In an uphill 500-meter sprint, I'll take Roglic most of the time. But if Roglic can do I think he did like nearly over 1900 VAM on the climb. What the hell? That's really fast. I mean, he was, listen, you can say what you want about, Roglic had surgery and recovery as well, and Remco had the best. Roglic still went to altitude before. Roglic still used Tirreno to tune up. He wasn't at his best there. So, yeah, I am shocked. I thought Remco was going to win today.
I think we're both coming around based on Catalunya. Now, I was expecting Roglic to be on the level necessary at the Giro d'Italia. I wasn't expecting this performance today then, if it's such a high level, which is congrats to Roglic for taking it home. Quite 100%. Now, if we take a look at the sprint for a second, could Remco Evenepoel have played the sprint differently to benefit it more? And I think as well, obviously you're saying the Roglic tactic of going at 400, then stopping, then going again from the wheel of Remco Evenepoel. That's the Roglic strat now. Remco should have been aware of that based on the previous races, right? Based on how Roglic has done that the same in Tirreno twice. And he didn't really do it completely on stage one here, though. Roglic, not the same exact.
I can't remember.
But if you're there and he launched at 400 meters, you know that if Remco Evenepoel goes, then he's going to blow himself up with Roglic in the wheel.
Remco got baited. Maybe he thought that.
The ideal thing is let Roglic do that and just sit on his wheel and launch with 200 meters to go. But maybe he had the confidence of La Molina and said to himself, well, it worked on La Molina by going a bit earlier. Maybe he'll drop again. So it's kind of a two-up thing, eh? You can't really 100% blame him because it worked on La Molina. But on the other end, we know that it's Roglic's signature move.
Yeah. I think Quick-Step have a lot to think about for the Giro, actually after Catalunya. Like, I don't think they'll be more confident about the Giro after Catalunya. I don't think it's, we'll go to the Giro, have an easy win. Roglic is not in his best shape anymore. Catalunya is like, oh no, like, this ain't much easier than the TDF. Like, this is a very, very serious opponent who's more than good enough. A guy who'd be able to podium the TDF. I said win. When the route came out. So, yeah, a lot of learnings from this race. Roglic with that 10-second. I mean, if Evenepoel wins the stage tomorrow and Roglic doesn't top 3, I think Remco wins GC. We'll have to look on Countback. So GC's not over. I will preview tomorrow. No, sorry. That's Barcelona stage. Tomorrow's stage should be a breakaway. 175 Ks from Martorell to Moulins-de-Ray. It has up and down, medium mountain all day with only one categorized climb. 5.6 Ks at 6% with 38 Ks to go. That is something that the Caden Groves, Alpecin, and maybe, I think Cofidis don't mind seeing that. So, I mean, it depends on Groves' climbing shape. A sprint is not out of the question, but really, I'm really looking at a break tomorrow. Simone Velasco, might be here? I'm picking him.
Simone Velasco. Jesus. I didn't expect that coming out of your mouth for
Juan Valenciano, a very similar stage.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to go and say Ethan Hayter. I'm going to be that guy.
You reckon, if I'm Ineos, I'm not pulling all day, right? He's got to go on the break. Yeah. It's the best thing
he did today, but without the dropping back to the peloton.
Yeah. Who else do we like the look of? There's a Harada, possibly. I'm looking at EF. Amador. Andreas Krone's a nice shout for this too. Don't know what his shape's like, but Andreas Krone you got to respect in this sort of breakaway too, as well as like a Dylan Turns or a Daryl Impey. So it'll be a break. Could be a nice one. But otherwise,
by the way,
oh yes,
I do want to talk about that for a second. Laporte has ended now. The gap in GC is 10 seconds, like you mentioned earlier. This race is not over, right?
No. Should they'll go for the if the break gets brought back, they'll sprint for the bonus seconds in with 10Ks to go, right? At Paleja.
Do you see Remco trying something on that climb? 6K, 6%, 30K from the finish line, YOLO?
I mean,
why not?
Why not? Why not, huh? I'd probably say
he
that
reaches
for the
intermediate
circuit.
sprint.
I mean, why not? Why not? Yeah, probably. I would try it. A prospects of success, I'm not sure. But Voss and Hessman and co, Voss in particular, will be pretty difficult to keep him behind. But Remco is the arrow bullet. I think it's the Barcelona stage, which is much trickier for Jumbo-Visma and Roglic, even though he'd probably be favoured for that stage too. But yeah, it's not over. 10 seconds is not a big gap, but I think Quickstep will be ruining not being as aggressive on Volta. I think they've cost themselves dearly in this race. Anyway, that's all from us. A huge day of racing, big pod. We really enjoyed it. Lots to talk about. Appetizers for Flanders and the Giro, but good racing in its own right. Thanks to you all and Zwift as always, and we'll see you tomorrow with Catalonia Stage 6. Ciao.